Really?
Yeah.
Does it work?
Yeah.
That's so weird, isn't it?
It's a thing. So, yeah. So, hey, everybody. Welcome to the Greater Apes
Hi, everybody.
podcast. My name is Jerry Williams, a.k.a. Greater Sapien. I'm here with my man, Jesse Vale, a.k.a. Bino. And as you can see, we're in the middle of a conversation. So what we do, it's we're talking about using these little dog training clickers, but in martial arts and
Which
in
used to
dance,
just be toys.
Yeah.
Remember those little steel ones? Yeah.
But yeah, but if the child knows, like, or anybody knows, like, the basic movement that they need to do, and what you do is you tell them, go to a certain point in your movement and you stop and get yourself into the right position. And when you get to the right position, I will click, and then you'll know you're in the right position. Right.
That way you don't have to talk too much. Yeah.
So the kid will get into this position with their arm, and nothing happens, and that happens, and then they move on to the next.
That's
and so that happens, and you can actually do it to yourself. When you know the movement and you've got it, you can actually go and you can go
create a click in your head.
You can just click. Yeah, you'll click, and I've done it and it works. And then you have them do it again, so and then it's like, the click starts to happen in your head without you trying. When your body gets to that spot, and it kind of goes click, right. I'm there, and you keep on going.
Add this to the list of things that you can do for dogs and cats and children. Yeah, the others being hide and seek, scaring them for joy, that sort of thing, and as I found out, laser pointers.
Oh yes,
works remarkably high in the age level. If you just bring one out hilarious. And start going.
Yeah, the thing I've done that. The thing with using clickers is you do have to explain it to parents beforehand, right? Because they think it's belittling. They don't necessarily get or you can then sometimes we've done it. We've actually had a parent do some basic movement or something and say, "You see how they're like, oh, I get it." But there's part of it that says,
and it's also a reinforcement. It's not a punishment.
Why are you training my kid like a dog? They'll have a certain. It's not that. Right. It's literally. It's just reinforcement. Exactly. It's that feedback. And
it's just so funny that I guess you can associate anything with it. I mean, God forbid I would ever teach martial arts, because what I would use sound effects, not a clicker.
Sound effects work to a certain degree, as long as the person...
not mine, because I would use a fart sound effect and then the kid would lose their position entirely. Like consistently. Yeah.
Yeah, but there would be that epic moment in the person's life when someone attacks them and they flip them and the person lands on their butt and farts, and they'll be like...
And they're like, I win everything.
Exactly.
Can't wait to tell Master Jesse.
Exactly. Sensei Jesse. Sensei Bino.
Sensei Bino. There you go. I don't know why it reminds me of it, but there's an experiment that I think you've seen me do, and I do it with. I run the experiment randomly for my own amusement. It works more with children and less with adults, but it does work with adults. And in the high school, when I'm on stage with them, and we're just like maybe over here they're working lines, maybe over here, or maybe they're building something and there's something over, especially with tools. So like there was a standard group of these kids that I had for a long time. They were called the Super Crew, and I would teach them this. It was like an initiation. They had to succumb to it, and then I explained to them what just happened, and then they'd go, and I go, and now we'll try it on other people. And we gathered everybody, and it is this: pointing to something that's out of your reach, looking at the person and going,
yeah.
It works. They'll totally just go get it, as long as you don't make a big deal out of it. And especially with me, because they expect me to do ridiculous things like that. It's not like if you were the president of the United States and he was at the Resolute desk and he goes, they'd be like, I'm sorry, sir. Because, just wouldn't go.
Understand. That did happen in the last 4 years.
Oh, I'm sure many, many times on some level. On some level.
That's where that little that little Coke button or that Pepsi button came from. Oh
my God. How I don't like this timeline at all. It's so weird.
It is weird. It is a weird timeline. So otherwise, how's it going? How's it going these days? How's your week been?
My week has been kind of up and down as per, but I have noticed some subtle good changes because of changes in my meds. And it was a funny conversation because I was talking to my psychiatrist, and I'm really frustrated because, ladies and gentlemen, I've been at this for years, and I've tried all kinds of medications, and there's, I tried a whole new type of medication that it just works a different way. So I've tried a bunch of SSRIs, which are serotonin reuptake, and those, they worked early on a little bit, but I mean, dude, you've known me for almost 30 years, right? It doesn't it's not. And let me get to this. They're never going to just be a fix. That's not what they are supposed to be. Mm-hmm. They're supposed to give you some leverage to move the things you have to move. Right?
Right.
So anyways, I've been very frustrated, and I said to my doctor, because he doubled one of these prescriptions, and I just said, what's the point here? He's like, what do you mean? I'm like, just another med. Okay, we're going to try this other med. And what? A switch is going to click after this many years? And in earnest, he said, yeah, sometimes. And this new med, we doubled it. And within a few days, I was just like, huh. Because I track my moods on a thing called Dailyo. And I was just like, huh. It makes you stop. It's good for tracking, because then you can start to see what are good habits, what are bad habits, what you're doing when you're not feeling good, what you're doing when you're feeling good, that sort of thing. But it also makes you stop. And I actually added more, so now it reminds me throughout the day. It's working a little bit. So
no, that's good.
Hopefully,
hopefully
it's gonna work.
I'm happy. I'm glad to hear that. Given the other thing that's going on with you that you didn't mention.
I don't even know if I have signs of it. Yep, there's a little bit right there. This shingles, which is funny because I represented it on Facebook as like, well, stress finally got me. But then, whenever something affects me, I'm doing some research. Stress really doesn't have anything to do with it. I mean, it can make you weaker so that it can happen.
Right.
But it is not a stress-induced thing.
Right.
It is just, I wish I knew what is it, a crapshoot? Every day, the little, I can't remember what it's called, the little, whatever makes chicken pox, and it's just like, is today the day? Nah, not today.
Just
come
on. Back,
We've only been in here.
It's just shuffling its cards.
But it's like, nah, we're not even close, because we've only been in here for 45 years.
Yeah.
45 years. I mean, I'm glad, mind you.
Well, and at some point he goes, yeah, and just starts to get up.
Yep.
Okay, let's do it.
Okay. Well, luckily,
shake it off.
Everything in my body is lazy. because even this
everything in your body
virus
is lazy.
Everything in my body is lazy. So even this virus was just like, all right, I guess. So I mean, I don't have a bad case, and I can't begin to say how lucky I feel, because I've seen bad cases. We've known people with bad cases, and it's just awful. And I was so worried. I wanted it not to be when I was calling the doctor, I called the advice nurse and I'm like, it's probably not. It's probably not. You know what? It's probably not. She's like, well, let's just have the doctor. And he was just like, oh yeah, that's what that is. Just how you're explaining it. Cause I couldn't get my camera to work. He goes, and I finally did get it to work. And he goes, just the way you've explained it. Yes, this is shingles and it's on my neck. So, I'm so lucky because now I'm on antivirals. So it hasn't been so bad. It's spreading a little bit. And then, in 6 months, I'll get my,
your booster,
my vaccine for that. I never had the vaccine.
Okay. Oh yeah. I know. I got to put it on my, it's on my list. Dude, I got to double check with, well, no, I can't remember if my nurse practitioner put in the order or not. And I'm just waiting feedback on that. And if so, then I'm just going to go over to CVS and go, hey, I'm on the list. Thank you.
Yeah. I swear to God, I thought I had this.
Yeah.
Because I remember sitting in, it wasn't even that long ago. I had my mask on and I needed to get a flu shot. No, the flu shot was downstairs. I needed to get blood pressure. That's what it was. Because I had to go specifically in there because I was feeling some blood pressure effects. And she gave me some inoculations. I don't remember what they were, but they're not on my record. So yeah, I know. I depend. Look, our brains are all on computers. I don't have a brain anymore.
Were you sure this person worked for CVS and wasn't just?
No. It was in Kaiser. I was literally in the Kaiser
somebody
room.
Walking up to you, just going like, "Yo, man, this will take care of you.
Hey, man,
this will do you up good.
Would you like to buy an O?" Anybody know that reference? Tell me what the reference is in the comments, and you'll get a prize. The prize being, you're correct. That is the reference.
Yeah. It's the classic Marvel no prize.
The classic Marvel no prize.
No prize. Get a no prize.
So that's happening. There's all my personal stuff.
Before we got started, you were starting to tell me about what you've been watching lately. And I think you're talking about
well, because all right, so we've been talking about, okay, what are we going to talk about in the future? Blah, 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 blah. We know that this is coming up, so let's review our background. And I've been resistant because it's like, I remember what I hated about those movies. And then my roommate and I were watching the previous release of Super Friends.
Oh, Justice League.
League.
So now you haven't gone back to Man of Steel, Batman v Superman. You just went straight to Justice League. Okay. You went to Justice League.
Yeah, because I know what those are and I hated them. I can remember. I mean, it stuck with me. I hated it so much. So then I was when we were watching that, I said, "Oh, I can't remember what I didn't like about Aquaman." And then the other night, I said to my roommate, well, how about we review that one? She goes, well, I've never seen it. I said, well, great. Then you'll watch it for the first time and I can review it. I'd never seen the movie before, Jerry.
Oh, okay.
I just didn't know. I never saw the movie.
I was under the impression you had never, that you were talking about it right now, but I was under the impression at some point you told me you had never seen it in a side conversation.
I thought I had. I swear to God, I thought I had. I remember something, but it wasn't the movie.
It wasn't the movie.
No.
So,
and
so I have reviews. So you had a negative review of that movie that you were trying to remember why you didn't like it, and in the end,
Aquaman?
You actually didn't.
No, in my brain, I actually said of the movies, my favorite were the Wonder Woman and then the Aquaman movie. I said that to myself.
Okay.
And to others. I said that.
Okay. So now you have seen Aquaman.
Mm-hmm.
Tell me what your thoughts are on it, and then I will tell you mine. We'll have a little conversation about it. So I'm going to write down here that we talk about Aquaman.
Yeah. All right. So here's my my take. It was a crappy movie. But, and now here's some things, right? Talk about low bars. Aquaman is a low bar. I mean, it's a trope that he's the worst superhero. Oh, you can talk to fish.
It's a caricature. Yeah.
Yeah, and remember the old Dr. Katz. Get well, hello, Aquaman. Hi, Aquaman. Yes, we need to something. Let's go. Hi, Aquaman. Yeah,
right.
They're fish. Anyways, so there was a low bar. Well, here's the thing: they obviously stepped clearly over that bar because even though it was a crappy movie for a lot of different reasons, it was a good movie because it's the coolest I've ever seen Aquaman. Like, I like that Aquaman. I like that Aquaman. That one makes sense to me.
That one, I would say, is a crappy movie for many different reasons, but is also one that benefits from a charismatic star.
Yes, very good. I really enjoyed him.
That holds the screen. Okay, it's a lot can happen. It's kind of like Star Wars. You know what? Harrison Ford put that movie on his back and just walked that sucker over the finish line because he just had such screen presence, right? Yeah, and so same thing with this one. I'm blanking on his name all of a sudden.
Jason Momoa.
Momoa, right? He captures a lot. He has a lot of screen presence. Now, there are other characters in there that didn't have the kind of screen presence that he did, and so it was kind of. It's
when they're standing next to each other.
There's this here and this right here. It's like there's a void. There's like an emptiness because there's so much happening here.
I can't remember her name. Who was playing Mira?
Yeah, she got fired.
She didn't want to be in that.
She's not in it anymore. Yeah,
she didn't want to be. Yeah. You could just tell. She's like, oh my. It was like this the whole time. Oh my God, I can't believe I have to say these lines. Okay, just get through it. Just get through it. You can have some wine when you get home. There was one in particular when they're on a boat or something, and she says this like meaningful thing, and I was just like, "Oh, you didn't believe a word of that."
Well, yeah, there was definitely. I don't know if it was what it was about it, but I didn't care for her at all.
Her design. It's not even. I don't think it's the actress's fault. I can't remember what I've seen her in, but it didn't.
That's Johnny Depp's abuser, isn't it?
Oh. Right, that one. I just think it was just a bad design. Her costume was awful. Her hair was wretched.
Yeah, it's difficult. Underwater stuff is tough. I think they did the best they could do with it. Better than they did in Batman v Superman when they briefly showed him show up in the little flash, on the video, whatever, because they actually had him underwater and he was holding his breath.
And you can tell somebody's holding their breath.
Yeah, I'm sorry. Aquaman doesn't have to hold his breath. So
you can just tell. Yeah. Someone just there's a way to set their body because there are subtleties, I'm sure, in there that are saying this person's in danger that we're reading.
But so I think they fixed a lot of that, but the flow and stuff and for me, so the hair and stuff didn't quite work.
That hair, flowiness,
that kind of stuff didn't quite work.
But I mean, out of water, it was just like, oh, poor girl, poor Mira. She was born with no hair. So they had to put a wig, but they're limited in their dye ability. So they just
right
had some crustaceans, and it was just it's gross.
But I did there are things I liked about it in terms of I liked the color palette a little bit more. I thought that it was richer than most of the Snyderverse is really kind of dull and desaturated. One of my biggest problems with it was the action scenes were huge and kind of spectacular, and they were like 90s Saturday Night Live skits that were 6 minute long that should have been 3. It's like it's like, that's great, this is awesome, it's still happening.
Right. Why are you still going?
It's still going.
I felt exactly the same way.
Now I'm tired of this scene. Can we move on to something else? It's like,
can you move on from an exciting fight scene?
From exciting
You've done something wrong.
Yeah, exactly. Like there was the one where they were running over the buildings and doing the big chasing.
The guy was running underneath the buildings, through the buildings,
which made me want to watch Tintin again.
Yeah, that was a good scene.
Because I was like, oh, this is like that scene from Tintin, except for Tintin did it better, and it was only like 3.5 minutes long, and it was done, and it was like awesome. But this one was like, oh, that's cool. All right, it's cool. Okay, they're still running.
Right.
And and another explosion.
Oh, they fell to another old lady's roof. The hell?
And the scene would seem like it's almost done.
No.
And then a door would explode, and then it would go again, and you're like,
yeah, what was with that effect?
Stop.
That was the only way bad guys showed up, was a door exploded. What was that about?
Door exploding.
It's like, you guys, like, there was no subtlety. And here's the other thing. They were trying. This was made after? Yeah, of course it was.
Yeah, it was
made after
Justice League.
No. I'm sorry.
Batman v Superman.
I'm going through another thing. The Thor Ragnarok, because that was a daring balancing act that I'm worried that they're going to not be able to do with Love and Thunder, because they're going to try for that period thing again. Remember, they tried that with Wonder Woman, and we're just like, well, okay, I see where you're going, but no. And this one tried to thread that needle and couldn't, because I couldn't believe how quickly the music changed into this lightheartedness from a fight scene. You can see the opposite happening.
Was jarring.
It was jarring.
Jarring.
Like, what? Wait, what? God.
Yeah. And so of the movies, of the whole Snyderverse stuff, I do put Aquaman higher, because I would say this: it's a bad movie that was kind of enjoyable.
Yeah.
Because they weren't trying to make cinema. They weren't trying to act like this was like great theater. They were trying to have fun. And when Momoa was doing his thing, and the scene was right, it's like you could tell fun was being had, and it worked. But then after a while, like I said, the fun would go on too long, and it became work. It's like this movie should have been a half hour shorter. They should have chopped these things up and made it move quicker. And part of me thought, did they think that they were only going to get one shot at Aquaman? So they had to do it
Put it all in.
They had to just keep putting it in there. And I thought it suffered because of it. It could have been a lot tighter, and I could have enjoyed it more, because I was bothered by the fact that I didn't enjoy it, because I was like, you know what, the stuff was there, but you guys kept beating me over the head with things that I got tired of it.
Right. But I guess consistently for me, I was like, well, this is the coolest Aquaman's ever been in my mind. Yeah. So there was that. Right. So that was feeding me the entire time on some level. And, my suspension of disbelief, sometimes I was able to suspend it enough to enjoy certain parts, even though I knew they were coming. Like, for instance, her showing up on the dock finally. I mean, you saw it coming a mile away, but still I was able to go like, oh, that's so sweet in my brain, because I have that ability.
Right. Yeah. So you come, but you like, I saw the whole, the whatever the underground, whatever, like the third world version of Atlanteans were. They had that port, that kind of dark community that no one liked. I knew that they were going to be, that's where the whole thing was going to be. It's like it was going to have to go through there. And of course they're going to have possession of the thing, because that's how these stories work.
Right. So
But I didn't mind. Even though I knew it was going to happen, I didn't mind.
Right. But now that we're talking about the Atlanteans, and then they gather their forces and they continue. So they're having like this civil strife. Weird setup. First of all, just a weird conceit, because you're going to go demolish the troops you want first, right? And hurt some of yours, like lose some of your, like a lot.
Right.
Here's the thing, that the overarching thing for me is this: the problem with the DC universe. They have somebody powerful behind the scenes that's at that table. And whereas in the MCU, there are clever tie-ins from this to that to that to that to this to that to the other, like that's why we're all like used to these final credit scenes, because it's just this little boom and it ties in everything, right? Here's what that motherfucker says at that table with DC. Well, just make sure that you kill as many innocent lives as possible in this movie. Could you just do that? I'm going to greenlight all of this, but what I need to know, how many, like in the tens of thousands. Can we? That effing kiss between the two of them.
It's been a while since I've seen it, so I can't remember.
Their first kiss, Aquaman and Mera, happened amidst a battle that he could have changed the tide. She actually said, there's too many people dying. And then they took a long time to talk.
Yeah, I remember that.
Kiss. And behind
I remember watching it going,
literally, I saw a ship explode. I was like, 10,000 people or like 4,000 troops were on that thing. It's huge. Right? It's like watching a Death Star going down, and like, and Luke and Leia are floating in space kissing. But yeah, I don't understand. It is shocking to me how many innocent lives, the more innocent of the two universes comparatively, how many lives are lost in DC as compared to Marvel?
And it's not. I don't have so much of a problem with the innocent lives being lost. Someone just cut that and make it sound like in the movie. Just cut that. And Greater Zapin says he doesn't care about innocent lives being lost. But it's kind of like my example would be good horror movie versus bad horror movie. The thing about Aliens that made it great is that the people found out they were in trouble, tried to leave, but couldn't. Right. As opposed to hack ones where people find out in trouble and they just stay around.
Right.
And so it's like you can have innocent people dying in your film.
I don't mind that.
But
if it moves the story.
If it moves the story. But the heroes need to care. And they need to try. They may not be successful, but they need to care and they need to try. And that's what the thing was like, say, with the Avengers. Because you can look at it and you go, oh my God, buildings are just getting boom, 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 happening all the time. But with the first Avengers movie, you had Captain America say, look, your first job is to get innocents out of here. So you keep everybody at bay while you guys, and get as many people evacuated as possible.
And they actually included civilians, meaning cops, not the Avengers, working. Right. You could see them working to do these things.
People still died. Yeah. And buildings
you can't help it.
Trash. But the point was they were like, look, we know this is a problem and we need to try to stop it. They try. That's the thing. They may not be successful, but they try. And the thing
so you're referring to the Superman movie, the Man of Steel movie, which is the thing that
even in Aquaman, you have it's like, dude.
Oh no, I mean, you're throwing back to how it ties in with what I'm saying is that they just kill people, man.
Yeah, and the heroes don't care. Like I said, you can try, and you can fail, but try. Show the concern.
Don't make out.
Go back to Man of Steel. You can say, yes, they were fighting there, and it was Zod doing this and that. But it's like, but you know what? Superman. Sometimes it's just a line. Just say, we need to drive him away from the populace.
Just to say that, yeah.
Or have him say that it's like, look, your problems with me. Let's not take it out on the innocents. And then he can say, it's because you care about them. That's why, whatever. But
right. But even still,
it can be done.
But even still, that may not have worked because of how many times people were killed because of Superman.
Yeah, and they didn't build his character. They didn't. Yeah, they didn't build his character as a person that cared that much. That's one of my major issues with Man of Steel. If we want to talk just Man of Steel for a second.
Yeah, well, let's jump around.
Is that Superman didn't have. They didn't seem to have like a moral foundation. He was like told from a young kid, don't try to help people because you will be worse off. You will be worse off because of it. You will be victimized and they will come and get you. So don't help people.
So don't help people. I mean, can you
he wanted to. He wanted to. So they had that. And, Dad, what was I supposed to do? Was I supposed to just let them die? Maybe. What?
Yeah.
What? How does
if I were Kevin Costner, I would have said, I'm not going to say this line.
Yeah. How does that work? It doesn't. Yeah. Yeah. And so for me, when it comes to Snyder, he's a fan of comics and he's a fan of these characters, but he doesn't like them and he thinks they're wrong. So he thinks he needs to fix them.
Right.
And sometimes
bring them into the modern era.
There is a fix that needs to be happened. That's just from medium to medium. There's that. I understand that.
Yeah.
But I think he thinks that they're broken, and that he needs to fix them. And like, the problem with Superman isn't that he cares too much about innocent people, that has too much of a moral foundation. The problem is sometimes he's overpowered and they have a hard time writing stories for him that work. Mm-hmm. But they decided it's like, okay, we're going to keep him super powered. We're going to have all this kind of stuff, and we're going to deal with his moral foundation. We're going to give him not so much of a moral foundation. We're going to make him not necessarily seem like he cares about helping people. It's just something he has to do. And that just bugged the heck out of me.
It's the opposite of what he's supposed to be. It's just so weird.
Yeah. And so it doesn't work for me. Now, the thing is, I like Cavill. I think he was well cast. I thought he did a good Clark Kent.
He may be one of the best.
Yeah, I thought he did a great Clark Kent. There were times it's like they were doing a couple Clark Kent scenes or whatever. I'm like, look, he can smile. The man has screen presence. Look at the chemistry with him and this. It's working. But then he becomes Superman, and it's like, duh. It's just nothing. And it's not his fault. It's just like that's almost all the characters in the DC universe I thought were fairly well cast, but what they had them do didn't make use of them as that cast.
Yeah, I think they miscast Lois Lane. Yeah, I love her. She just didn't seem Lois Lane to me. She just never.
See, I don't think they.
And I couldn't put my finger on it.
See, for me, it's not that they didn't miscast Lois Lane; it's that they miswrote Lois Lane.
Well, that too, but I think they also miscast. She just doesn't look like a Lois Lane to me. I don't know why that. I don't know what that means, but
she has red hair. She doesn't have black hair. She doesn't have black hair.
I mean, and maybe that was just it. Yeah. Maybe it was just that. I don't know. I don't think it was just that. There's, they very, very much wrote her poorly.
So like, I didn't like. I love Lawrence Fishburne. Ugh. I love Lawrence Fishburne, but I hated Perry White. I thought his character was terrible. I just did not like Perry White. I didn't care for Lois Lane that much. I was really bugged by some of the terrible dialogue in that movie. I saw that more recently than you have. But my favorite bad dialogue is that Perry is telling her that she can't do a story, and she says, "Perry, I'm a Pulitzer Award-winning author." I'm like, really? That's how people talk? It's like, I'm a Pulitzer Award-winning author. It's like, oh, thank you for letting us know in the audience, instead of having something else come up that kind of shows or whatever. You don't have to say things.
Yeah.
I watched. It was regular Man of Steel, but then it was the extended version of Batman v Superman that they had up on HBO Max. Mm-hmm. So we got to see Jimmy Olsen get killed. We got to have him named as Jimmy Olsen and watch him get killed. In the original version, we didn't know it was Jimmy Olsen. He just got killed. And in the extended version, we got a little extra scene of him being dick, and Lois being a dick to him, and then he got killed.
That's not who he's supposed to be. Just don't use him.
It was terrible. It was a terrible exchange. I wish in the theatrical version they didn't have it, but in this version that's on HBO Max, when Jimmy and Lois first meet in the desert, he goes, Jimmy Olsen, blah blah blah, such and such couldn't make it. There's some person, other photographer that she normally works with that gets substituted. And he says, hey, I really like your work on the such and such and this and that. And what about the, he's like just talking shop for a little bit. And she says, what the other person, the other photographer who's not there, I'll call him John. You know what John says about such and such? And he goes, no. And she goes, nothing. I really like John. And I was like,
ew.
What? Why are you a horrible person to this person you just met? Who's Jimmy Olsen? And we all know Jimmy Olsen is like Superman's best friend, Lois Lane's right-hand guy. Why did you choose to do this?
That's how I felt about all of these things. They just didn't. I don't think that was Superman. I don't think that's Batman.
Right.
I don't think it. I just don't think it. I'm constantly taken away from it, constantly, because that's not what it's just like. Okay. Just to like stretch it. It's like, okay, you're going to make a Hulk movie and you make Hulk, get strong when he cries, and he gets swollen and he looks plump and he just like walks through buildings. He did not create a Hulk movie. He could be green and giant and called the Hulk, and Bruce Banner's the guy he is when he's not the Hulk, and you can put everything else together in the same way. But if you like take something away from him, or maybe his mother, whose name is Martha, dies, that he cries and then destroys the city, it's not a Hulk movie. That's how I feel. I don't think this was a super. We did not see Superman movies
because, like, there was this idea that this argument that was made after Man of Steel when everyone was mad that he killed Zod. Right? They are all upset that he killed Zod, and I had a problem with it, but not that he killed Zod. It's like, well, all that up to him killing Zod bothered me, and so killing Zod was just like the icing on the cake. But at least if it would have just been that, then I wouldn't have had a problem with it. And the thing is, I watched it again. I was like, you know what? Up to about like a third away into the movie, I was like, you know what? Yeah, I did like this movie up to this point. I actually was liking what was going on, and then they lost me because I really wanted it to be a good movie. So the argument was made that it's like, yes, Superman did kill. But you can see that it really bothered him, and this is him on the road to becoming that Superman that everyone knows, where he really values these things. And I'm like, okay, that's a great argument. Problem is, if this is the only movie that's made, that Superman doesn't exist. You didn't make that Superman. You're saying he's on his way to being that Superman, but this movie, standing by itself, is not it. So then you cut to Batman v Superman, which should be him progressing toward this Superman that he is going to be. And in that first scene with Lois and Jimmy getting killed and the terrorist organization kidnapping Lois because they know Superman's going to come. That was the whole, him doing it. So Superman shows up there and just straight murders a guy. Lois is there being held with a gun to her head, and he's looking, and Lois kind of puts her hands down and says, like, I know what you're going to do. And then he plows through this guy at the speed of sound, shattering through the wall, the next couple walls. It's like, no, that guy's a smudge.
Yeah.
That guy's a smudge.
He's jelly.
You could have lasered him. You could have walked up and plucked the gun out of his hand before he knew you were there. You're Superman.
Yeah.
Right. But you just disintegrated him. I'm like, no. Yeah, you just straight murdered a dude. Yeah. And then the rest of the thing was like him being set up for a bunch of other murders that he didn't do, and frame it. But I'm like, yeah, okay, I get that, but understand, he just murdered that dude.
He just murdered somebody.
And so he's not on his way to this thing. And then they had all these scenes of him saving people that it's like, he doesn't. It's like, dude, look like you actually care about this. And it's not like you just going through the motions.
Right.
Right.
Well, and I was going to say, because we were talking about, people dying and so on. So it was never established to me that Aquaman doesn't kill people. And it seems like this Aquaman would, if necessary, because he's the ocean. I liked that they tied that in, right? Like his anger and his strength and all that kind of tied into the ocean instead of just this talking to. And that was another thing, by the way, dude. She's just like, oh, what are you doing? Well, I'm an Atlantean. I talk to fucking fish. What are you doing? Oh, I move water. Well, I just assumed because you were an Atlantean, you could move water. And if maybe you're the only one that can do it, you're an Atlantean. So you saying, what are you doing? Talking to fish? What the hell? Come on. Yeah, it ties in, lady. You may not have seen it in a generation, but I'm sure some of them can. Right?
That's funny.
They must have a dolphin whisperer television show somewhere. Anyways, so back to Man of Steel and so on and so forth. So I'm saying that, like, I could see, because in early on in Aquaman, he straight up murders some guys. He didn't have to do that, right? But then there was this. It made sense, but that's because nobody knows who the fuck Aquaman is, but everybody knows who Superman is.
Right.
Superman saves innocent people. Superman is a Boy Scout.
Right.
Superman's actual weakness is he's too good.
Right.
And he's too much of a Boy Scout.
And people have confronted me online saying, I can't, I really don't like the Kansas, Boy Scout Superman. That's just not interesting to me. It's like, okay, I get that. But the problem is, if you can't write for that Superman, then it's not that Superman's problem. It's the creator's problem. It's the people making it. It's like, if you can't make a story with what this character is, find someone who can, as opposed to changing the character and changing it altogether. Now, I don't mind small things. It's, it doesn't need to be where I don't mind bringing people's powers down. I don't mind all sorts of stuff, but there's like the fundamental core stuff that make them who they are that I think Zack Snyder doesn't like about them. I just think he doesn't. He likes the coolness of them. He likes their powers. He likes the things that they can do, but he doesn't like who they are. Same with Batman. It's like he likes Batman. Obviously, he likes Batman. Obviously, he's probably within a year or two of me on either side of us, and so he read Dark Knight Returns, thought it was the greatest thing on the freaking planet, and that's what he wants, right?
And he didn't even deliver that.
No, well, no. What he did was he made it so no one can have that now.
Yeah,
because all the elements were taken from he took all the little cool bits of it that he wanted to see and made him like right at the start. It's like I'm sorry. The whole Batman versus Superman, the whole conflict of Dark Knight Returns is because they had worked together side by side and argued whatever for so long, so that when they finally came to blows like this, it meant something. Something fundamental had changed, right? But so it was earned. It was like an earned thing,
right? Not just some newbies they never met before. He just doesn't like him because he killed 1.5 million people. I don't know how many it was, but it couldn't have been less than that.
Right.
I know they said less somehow, but
I don't know.
No.
So he went straight to, it's like, cool, I get to make Superman, I make a Batman movie. Cool. I'm doing the Dark Knight conflict. I'm like, wait a minute. How do you get there? right off the bat. How do you get there on the second Superman movie and the first Batman movie?
And first that Batman movie, yeah.
Of your thing. This Batman's been around for like 20 years inside your realm or whatever. Somehow Superman's never heard of him. Who's Bruce Wayne?
Right.
Have you heard about this Batman over there? Like, I'm sorry, you grew up on this planet and you've been flying around as Superman for a couple years.
You can hear too.
When you've been flying around for Superman for a couple years, you hadn't heard about this thing that's been happening in Gotham for like 20 years?
Yeah.
Like weird people like blowing stuff up and giant cards and this dude that's just poisoning. You hadn't heard about that?
Right. Yeah.
Hey, Batman, Mr. Detective Person. I'm sorry. You're just now hearing about this like legendary warrior person who's obviously been around since World War I and then has been around in the 80s and Lex Luthor is somehow smarter and able to detect these things. In all these years, you haven't noticed all these people with powers and you haven't been keeping track of this stuff. And no.
Nope. Come on. But in terms of personable, how do I explain this? In terms of, okay, Ben Affleck is not my favorite Batman, but he's not my favorite Batman.
Okay. Yeah. I liked him, but I just didn't like what they had him do.
He is my favorite Bruce Wayne.
Yeah. Yeah, he was good.
Because that's Bruce Wayne is Ben Affleck. you know what I mean? Like that kind of rich guy who's aloof and you never know, and he's made some weird decisions, but he's in the news and he's done some good things, and he's a good guy, but he makes weird decisions, and he's friends with this other guy who is pretty liberal, right? Yeah. So yeah. That makes sense. Yeah. No, I thought he was well cast. I just didn't care for the Batman they had him be. No.
But I'm not one of these people that's like, oh God, you freaking Daredevil all over again, blah, blah, blah. No, I was like, I thought he did well with what he was given, but he wasn't given the right thing. That's all.
I actually expect that in the Snyder Cut, I suspect I'm going to enjoy Batman more.
You blinked out for a second there. What was that?
In the Snyder Cut of the Super Friends. I'm just going to call it Super Friends. And I'm going to be looking for Gleek and Gloop.
So I just lost the word. You say you're going to enjoy it more, or you're not going to enjoy it more?
I think I'm going to enjoy his Batman more there.
Oh yeah, I'm sure he will.
Because
I have a feeling this movie
is more of the grisly Batman.
No, he if they were going to make a Dark Knight Returns, he is really well cast for that. It's like, no, you're in your 50s, you're a little bit overweight, but you're still athletic because you just put in the work, so you're kind of bulky and slow. But you know what? You're bulky and slow, but you still know how to hit people and you can be strategic about it, all that kind of stuff. He's really well cast for that Batman. But it's not time for that Batman right now. It's too early in this whole thing to get that.
The whole universe that they've introduced,
But no, I thought he was, like I said, I thought he was well cast. I didn't like this whole, branding people and knowing that if he brands them, that they're going to probably get killed when they get in the thing, blah, blah, blah. And being so easily manipulated into hating Superman, but,
Yeah, I hated all of that.
He wasn't smart enough. He wasn't compassionate enough.
Well, that's what you were just saying about Superman. Like, you enjoy the actor. He has good stage presence. He has good cinematic presence, and all these things. I think he's very well. He looks more like Superman than I think any other Superman that we've ever had.
There's not a bad angle on that fool.
Right. So, and then
except for personally, he's too muscular for Superman.
You think he's too muscular for Superman?
He looks, when he gets in that suit, they add too much stuff to it.
Yeah, they do.
And he looks like a He-Man action figure.
Yeah.
And it's comical.
And the guy's already cut, so just let him.
Yeah, it's comical. It's like, look, I've said this for a long time. It's like Superman is an alien. He gets his power from the sun. He doesn't actually have to have mechanical muscles to be really big in order to be powerful. That's why the women kick ass. They're not freaking steroid looking women or anything like that. You don't need that because he's a Kryptonian on Earth. He doesn't need that. So especially in the Justice League, it's like he comes on and he literally looks like he's got like the joints of an action figure and he can't put his arms to the side. And it's just like Superman needs to flow. He needs to be just like graceful. He's got power. Your cat's about to do the thing again. He's got power. He doesn't need to have muscles at all times. And so that takes me away from it sometimes because I really like Cavill. But he comes on as Superman. I'm like,
I know.
I laugh for a second. I'm like, come on, dude.
That happens too much.
Silly.
Like that's what happens too much, right? Yeah. That's what happens too much to me.
Yeah.
It's just
when he walks down the aisle in Congress or whatever, and it's like I'm like, dude, that just looks funny. He's an athletic dude. He's got the muscles. So you don't have to put fake contours on the costume to make it enhanced and all this other stuff. It's like the dude looks like Superman.
Just probably put in some work too.
Yeah.
And to have it covered.
A ton of work. Yeah. He put in tons of work. And you see him do it. And he's in other movies. He's like, so just put him in the suit that just looks right and fits well. And people will go, God damn, that guy's got power.
Yeah.
They will just have him act, and they will say he's got power. You don't need to have this, and when the lighting's bad, you can really see that it's like, oh, that suit is like got like weird fake muscly wedges on the side and stuff like that. It's like, no, the dude has it.
Yeah, you know what came to mind? Super Conan.
Yeah.
I loved that
and
costume.
that kind of stuff takes me out of a film, and I don't like being taken out of a film.
No.
And it bugs me. And so Snyder wanted these things. He wanted the Dark Knight conflict, and he wanted the death of Superman. And Superman's death matters because he's been doing things for us for so long, and we are behind him in this and that. And so when he sacrifices himself for humanity, it's a big freaking deal. But in this universe, he was only been around for a couple years. Half the people were like, it's a freaking alien that was part of this. And other half of people were like, third world country, hey, he saved us. But everyone was kind of divided on him. And so his death it didn't have the power to it. And it just bugged me. And that so being used as an infant. Yeah.
It's like, I mean, I don't know what was happening behind the scenes, but there must have been, I mean, considering the money they spent, there was a lot of buy-in, right? There was a lot of buy-in. Yeah. We want some Superman movies. Now, if they just took it slow, can you imagine what a good story they could have told if they had 8 years and phases?
Yeah. And that's the thing.
That'd have been perfect.
Yeah. It's like, dude, you make a good Superman movie, you make a good Batman movie, you make a good one, you're going to make the money. You're going to make the money. The money is there. The fan base is there. So don't shoot it all at once. Don't just pour it all out, because once you do that, it's like, okay, now what? Is Superman going to die again in 5 years? Is he going to die again? It's like, no, he's dead. He's dead and he came back. We've done that.
No, it can't happen again.
It's like they truncated the problem with comics, which was like once Superman, comics had been around for a long time. Characters had been dying, and most of the time they kind of stayed dead, like until later on. Like Bucky, when he died, he stayed dead. When Captain Marvel died of cancer, he stayed dead. People died. And then like Superman died, and they made a big deal about him dying, and then 2.5 years later they brought him back. And then since then, death doesn't matter in comics.
No.
They're dying all the time. Literally, Black Panther got killed last week in comics.
Oh, again?
In this alt universe thing, whatever happened, death doesn't matter. And so the DC EU has like truncated that. You've had 2 Superman movies, and in that second one, he's dead, gone. And then the third one, he's back. It's like, okay, well, all right. Who cares if somebody dies? They could be back anytime. Yep. It just doesn't matter. Yep.
And
so it's impatience. For me, it's impatient. I try to be very patient about these things.
I had to learn this the hard way. I mean, I wrote a puppet show.
Oh, okay.
That
I was about to count down to Lord of the Rings reference in 5, 4.
5, 4. No. Even though, don't get me started.
I was trying not to.
There was that puppet show I wrote, and it was a really funny idea. It was a good concept. Could have a lot of fun with it. And when I was sitting down, I was just like, okay, well, I don't have my own puppet show at this point. I had I had a backer to say, okay, go do this. And so I went to go do this, but then I felt the pressure of not wanting to disappoint people and wanting to make sure that it was good, because I didn't want to, normally I don't care about making mistakes. I really don't.
Right.
I think they're funny.
Right.
Many of the times, like, oh my God, can you believe I did that? But this was such an awful product that I don't know how to recover it, because it's written and I don't know what could be cut, but it's so overwrought that it's apparent throughout. It's so overwrought, and it's kept me from writing scripts recently, because again, I feel this pressure. I just want to get a really good product out there, and it's just like, oh, dude, just if I was writing for Fairyland, right, or like when I was at other puppet theaters and I was just writing, it was just like, okay, well, I had the opportunity. If this sucks, I'll rewrite it.
Yeah.
But I don't feel that way. I feel like somehow I'm going to ruin my reputation, and if I have a crappy show that I'm touring with. But dude, and I hope none of them are watching. None of them are watching. Some of their shows are awful. I know puppeteers whose shows are awful.
Oh yeah.
And okay, not awful.
But yeah, I mean, yeah.
I've never.
Honestly,
that's not true. I've seen a couple awful puppet shows.
We have a lot of friends, and we've known a lot of people. We've known, I probably know as many comic people as puppet people.
Well, then there's also this at Fairyland, and I'm not saying that all the shows at Fairyland suck, because they don't. Some of them are just brilliant. But we've seen so many puppet shows. We've seen more puppet shows than most puppeteers have seen. Really.
Right.
Because they change so often, and we've been in so many of them.
Right.
That we, when we're recording, sometimes we might go, I don't know about this one. I don't know about this one. And I've been surprised.
Yeah.
There was one I thought, oh man, this is going to be awful. Oh my God, how am I going to handle the blowback? I'm going to have to be there for them to make sure that there's no blowback. And there was no blowback. And it was awesome. Everybody
come out.
loved it.
Right.
And I still don't understand.
Yeah. But we know people in the comic book business, and we've met people, casually and less, and more personally through conventions over the years, and, great people. But, oftentimes you're like, man, that book sucks. that stuff is horrible.
Mm-hmm.
Love
you.
And
we've made those mistakes with books too.
Yeah. Love you. But that one's,
Mm-hmm. I'll buy it.
Mm-hmm. I mean, I probably only get halfway through it when I read it, but I'll buy it because I'm going to support you. But
so that reminds me, because remember we were discussing that maybe we might do something with Swiper.
Uh-huh.
If we do that, can we do Fashion of the Christ, even though it's so dated? Right? Like, that's just like a Pandora's box there, isn't it?
Sorry, I had to mute myself a little bit for the Fashion of the Christ book we did. Especially because I think we knocked that one out in like 6 days or something like that. I mean, that was such a fast turnaround.
That was a pretty fast
one. The art is so minimal on that one, because it was like, oh, there's a convention. Oh, that's hilarious, dude. Yeah, you start writing that one up.
You write it, I'll draw it. Yeah. Yeah, it was pretty fast.
Yeah. I remember trying to figure out ways I could draw faster. I'm like, okay, I'm just gonna. Can we just copy and can we just? I don't have access to a scanner, so I'm just gonna have to do this again. I'll just light box it. I'll just do this. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Backgrounds. What are backgrounds? We're trying to get this
backgrounds. Let's get going.
This 12-page or whatever it was thing out in like 6 days. Let's go.
Yeah. And it was barely timely then. People knew what Queer Eye for the Straight Guy was, but it had been out for a while. It wasn't like we jumped on that train.
Well, because it was just like it wasn't a train hop. It was like an idea popped up in your head, and we were going back and forth, and like a joke or two happens. It's like, oh crap, okay, we already have a vague idea, and we have a couple jokes. Now go with it.
Yeah. That's usually how I write puppet scripts too. There's usually something I go, well, now I have to see that. I just explained to someone the other day about puns in puppet shows and how puns can sometimes be the seed of a puppet show. Because Jorinda and Drungel, which is just straight up obscure story.
No.
Which is this puppet show that you and I first met in recording. The Yellow Brook Toad. That's what got that written.
Right.
And that he was the guide, and we were to follow the yellow. It just, in case you guys didn't figure that out prior to what I was about to say, I guess it was. Yeah. So I created a show that was entirely around the High King of Townville City liking a pair of boots and naming him after himself, so that they were called High King boots. And that's it, man. That sold me. I wrote that. That whole play because I was just like, and it was one of the last things I said.
So the fashion of the Christ. Yeah. Mm-hmm. What was the joke for that one? Do you remember what the initial joke was?
Oh yeah, it was the cover.
It was the cover. Okay, I wasn't sure. Yeah, that's what I thought.
It was the cover, and then it was also like the astringent was one of them.
But you want to describe the cover?
The cover is.
I'll probably find it and I will put it up after we describe it. I will stick it up here. But you describe it for people who are just.
I need a copy of that. So if it's sitting next to another copy, I need another swiper. I can't find my swiper. So it was. So there's the Queer Eye for the Straight Guy, which there were 5 characters, and we narrowed them down to 3. Yeah. Right? Yeah, I think 3.
I think there were 4 and a host. There was, we had 3 because we only had time to draw so many people. Couldn't have them all.
Yeah, because they were essentially sections of the book. Okay, now let this guy do his thing. Okay, now let this guy do this thing. Right. Okay. Well, there's a lot actually. Okay, so we're talking about this now, as it turns out, because I just have a lot of recollections all of a sudden. So the cover of this thing that was just like, yeah, that's funny, we're going to do this, is the 3 hosts of, I can't remember what we called our show, but
I can't remember.
Yeah, I can't remember. It was something just that a thesaurus gave us. Something for the straight gents.
Yeah.
Probably style sense for the straight gents or something like that. Anyway, what you do, and I couldn't believe I did this. I can't believe it. Like, look, I'm not Catholic anymore, but I was raised Catholic. A lot of my family are Catholic, and I thought, oh my God, I'm endangering their souls. So it's these 3 guys looking a little concerned, looking up at Christ, who is apparently on the cross. You see the shadow of that cross cast across them.
Right.
And one of them says, who do you think does his nails, or who does his nails? That was it. We were sold. Yeah. And I think at the bottom of the book we have in the smallest font.
One of them's taking a picture with his little flip phone.
One of them's taking a picture
with the flip phone, because that's how long ago this was.
That's a flip phone. Yeah, that's true. And then I think at the bottom of the cover we had written in the smallest font possible, just by holding this comic, your soul
I can't remember. I need to find it. I have it somewhere.
Oy, oy, oy. So, yeah. So, at any rate, here's one of the funny things that I said, oh, God, well, I have to talk about this. And that is, like I just introduced to everybody, like I'm agnostic, right? Jerry's an atheist. I didn't actually feel like I'd get in trouble or something like that. That wasn't the case. But there was something cultural in me that I said, all right, Jerry, I'm going to write this thing, but just so you know, I'm putting it back on the cross. Because I'm not going to end the story with Christ not being crucified. I'm not. Just not going to do it. And I had to come up with a reason for that to happen. And that was the most ridiculous part, was that the entire show was he was going to host a dinner party and that he forgot to invite the Pharisees and they got pissed.
Right.
Remember we had, oh God, Pontius Pilate washing his hands.
There was so much bad stuff in there. Every page was just
awful.
Just skewering. Yeah,
it wasn't right. I wonder why that one didn't sell so well, Jared.
Well, I think we did pretty good for, it was like an ape. It was like an ape book. We just handed out people were like, oh, that's hilarious. Okay, I'll buy one. Or, oh, that's hilarious. They'll try to read half of it while they're right there. I'm like, dude, you're going to buy it or not? Oh, okay, whatever.
Right.
But, yeah.
Yeah, we
only
that was one of those books we had one of those problems with.
Yeah.
Where it was, are you going to buy it or read it right now? Right. I've been almost guilty of that myself.
So that was fun. That was fun. Yeah. So I'll find some art on that one and put it up. You guys have already seen it because I've already put it up there. So that's hilarious.
Oh yeah, there you go.
So
future.
I don't know. And real quick, I don't know if you noticed, but there was a little bit of WandaVision blowback last week.
Oh, that's right. We were going to talk about that.
Just a little bit, because it's just one of those things where.
Yeah, you sent me a great article for that. Yeah. Just the title alone was everything.
People were just like, complaining that the predictions that they thought and all the stories they had told themselves in their head didn't play out. And it's
we were talking about that from the very beginning. Yeah. That's why we were saying over and over again, we're going to be okay if this doesn't happen, but wouldn't it be cool if? Because that's the fun. But we knew it was going to happen. We knew this was going to happen.
Yeah. So there was a lot. I mean, overall, still the rating of the show is really high. Though the last episode is the lowest rated of the bunch.
Is it really?
Yeah. Cool. At least on whatever rating system they have. But there was a interesting amount of just people kind of complaining that they felt used. They were too many red herrings going on, and I think I sent you that article about Anya. What's her name? Actress's name.
Oh, Emma Caulfield.
Emma Caulfield being used as a red herring, and that was like
she
an
started
intentional
to get scared.
One. Yeah, but how she knew she was being hired for that, and it was the exact reason you said. It's like you don't hire Emma Caulfield in a nerd related show without using her.
And you do.
And you do when you want people to go looky-loo. That's why they didn't. They said that when she showed up in the second episode, they had Agnes say, that's Dottie. She's in charge of the whole town.
Yeah.
Right. That was like a very intentional.
There was even a hell point. Reference.
Yeah.
You'll catch hell or something like that. Yeah.
But so it was a direct, thing. While the engineer part apparently was just like, yeah, y'all did that. Y'all just blew up the engineer thing. The fandom just did that. That was just like, I have an engineer friend. There was no intention of it being some type of Fantastic Four, blah, 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 but everybody went crazy.
But it just ran with it.
I still think it's a scroll, but that's me.
Real quick, just because we were, oh my God, Kat. I mean, dude, the whole point of you're supposed to be able to walk across wires. can't walk across a goddamn table without scattering the most expensive thing. He dropped the computer on the ground earlier today, ladies and gentlemen. I was just looking this up.
He dropped it. Why was he carrying a computer?
Well, you know, he has a problem. He's got stuff to do. Yeah, he's on YouTube all the time. I'm trying to think here because my brain just said something in a hurry and I can't figure it out. But we were just talking about Aquaman, and so there was because now we're talking about red herrings, right? And that in Aquaman, Willem Dafoe plays a character. Yes. And as soon as he showed up, I'm like, oh, he's behind this. And he wasn't.
Right.
And I thought, oh my God. And my brain just said, oh my God, that's right. Yeah, he was a red herring. I wonder if his name means red herring. and his name is Nuidus Volko. So that doesn't sound like red herring to me.
Yeah,
I don't know.
I don't know if you can rearrange the letters on that one and come up with that.
No. So anyway, that was there. So yeah, you just there's no pleasing everybody. Can't please everybody. I still want to go back. I'm going to watch the whole thing in one sitting at some point. It was interesting. There was some stuff about the last episode that bugged us a little bit, and I was reading up that COVID screwed a lot of stuff up. Oh yeah. Sure.
Apparently, Darcy was supposed to be in that episode more, but travel restrictions kept her from being able to do it, and so they had to just kind of cut her out. Same thing with there was a whole other scene where Mr. Scratchy transforms into a demon and chases the kids. Yeah, apparently the kids decide to go help the family, and so they leave and they go back to the basement, and Mr. Scratchy is there protecting things. Monica and the kids go to the basement, and Mr. Scratchy is there, and they're like, "Oh, it's Mr. Scratchy," and he turns into like this big, human-sized demon, not Mephisto, just a regular human-sized demon, and starts to with big claws and is going to, so he's Mr. Scratchy. He's going to
just. And they are going to fight him, or was this?
And they take off running. It's a big chase scene and stuff, and they filmed it all, but they couldn't finish the special effects. They couldn't. They couldn't get that part done, so they had to cut that whole section.
That's going to be a great extras release.
So they had to cut that stuff out.
I'd watch that.
Yeah, so there was
for $1.
There was more. So like Monica ended up standing around a lot. For that last bit, there was a lot of standing around because things were supposed to happen, and then they had to just kind of retool because apparently the main production happened, and then the next day COVID shut everything down. So things like going through and like
at the top of the show, or
when they finished recording the finale, like all the primary stuff. Like the next day, they finished it right before COVID shut down. So they were like, "Woo!" But of course, you do that, and you're like, we need to do a little pickup here. We need to do a little this here, and
you don't get those,
and you don't get those, and so then you can't. It's like, well, that doesn't tie right. We need it, but we can't. We can't tie it off right, so we have to cut it off. We just have to edit that out. So yeah. So apparently, there's a little bit of disconnectedness that we noticed. Like, hey, why is Monica just standing there? What? That's just like the nature of filming things in the COVID era.
So it would be like we might notice issues if they had to change directors mid-film for whatever reasons. We might go, oh, okay, well, they tried to save it.
Right.
But not to the extreme, because it was still enjoyable.
Right. Oh, yeah, yeah. In this case,
I thought it was a fine finale.
Yeah.
But yes, that makes sense.
And I haven't gone through, but someone took screenshots of every of 5 episodes and showed how each one of them represents a stage of grief. It's like this episode is denial, and then this one is anger, and then this one is bargaining, and this one. So I want to go back through and just see how if that actually fits through.
Yeah,
I would not be surprised if it did.
I wouldn't be surprised at all.
And then the final being acceptance. Yep. Okay. You gotta move on.
Yeah. I still haven't gotten there. I mean, I guess to a degree I have. my own personal grief, folks.
Yeah, I'm like, you're not accepting the
not accepting the finale. No,
finale of the show. It's like, damn, dude, your suspension of disbelief is really total.
Absolute.
So yeah, it was weird. It was funny. It got to Thursday night or something, and even my son's like, is there any Marvel to watch? So I'm like, no. Weird. It's like an empty weekend. There's no. It's like,
yeah, we didn't even contact each other till today. Yep. Normally we'd have talked yesterday. Okay, what's the deal? What's the we'll meet about blah blah blah. And we're meeting later in the day. I think we ever have before.
Yeah.
Speaking of which, I have to.
Yeah, you're gonna have to bolt out in a few seconds. So next week, I can't remember if it's Wednesday or Thursday, but the Snyder Cut drops. I'm not sure when I will watch it because it's 4 hours long. I'm not staying up all night for that because I want to be able to at least watch it I want to try to enjoy it because I'm going to say this. It's going to be better than the last version. I mean, come on. It's going to be better than the last version. Though it is 4 hours long, it may be incredibly tiring. It may not, whether or not it holds up, that's a whole other thing. And
it's going to be a day watch for me, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's probably going to be a day watch. But I'm not.
Sorry,
I'm not encouraged by the idea of the show, but I want to give it as much chance as I can. But I'm not going to act like I'm not biased against Snyder's ability to execute a story. It's going to look cool. It's going to have some cool stuff in it. I was watching Justice League, and there were like these cool passages. Like, oh, cool! Look at Batman, Bruce Wayne walking in slow motion through this tall grass toward the thing. That's a cool picture. Nothing's happening. It's not moving the story. I'm not building character. It's a cool shot, though. Cool shot.
Was he ever a video?
I think he comes from commercials and music video, and so he's got a visual eye. He's got a visual thing. But people are talking about Darkseid and how the special effects look so good, and oh yeah, it's great. It's better than Thanos. Blah blah blah. It's not.
No.
I think they're going to be taking advantage of the fact that everyone's going to be looking at it on a small screen.
Higher res. They've done it better rendering before we get to see it.
Before we get to see it, maybe. What I've seen and is what I remember. I don't remember the song, but "Strobe Light Honey," which is a girl that looks really good in the strobe light.
Oh, a Strobe Light Honey, yeah.
And it's like, yeah, it's all the stuff that I see of Darkseid and this and that and the other guy. It's like, well, let's see, it's a really dark shot with a bunch of smoke and insane lighting going this way and that. Yeah, it looks really cool. But you can barely see it. It's just, it's just being masked by all this other stuff. You put so much cool stuff on it that it looks cool, but it doesn't mean it's actually good. It's just all this stuff. And it made me think, it's like, you know what it is? It's like the Rob Liefeld of CGI. It's like, oh, we're going to put some smoke at the feet so we don't have to render it. And we're going to put a bunch of lines on it so it'll look intense. But it's not actually, there's nothing actually there. We're just going to put a bunch of textures in the background and some angles going this way and some speed lines. And we're going to cover it up with a bunch of fog. And there we go. Awesome. But it's like, yeah, the thing about Thanos was not even the action stuff. It was like the subtle conversational stuff, and it was also showing it in bright daylight. And just having him walk up in bright daylight and having the little flex in his cheek, do little things like, he's a person. He's not a monster. He's a monstrous person. But monster stuff is easy CGI.
Right.
Because who knows what a monster
it doesn't exist. Yeah.
It does exist. You can do what they want. But humanoid things are subtle, and we know when they are wrong. We can tell. It's that whole someone is suffering, like Aquaman holding his breath. Right. It's like we can tell, or there's something genetically wrong with that thing. Our survival instinct says, get away from it.
Yeah.
And so I think a lot of it is being covered up, by by his artistic style. His artistic style covers up the lack of substance, but it'll look cool.
Well, okay, so it's at the very least, it's a Predator versus.
Right. But people are going to act
Alien.
like it is the end all and be all of all comic movies. It's the greatest thing. He should have been given this from the start. This is what we would have had if he had been allowed to finish it. Right. All this kind of stuff. It's like, no, it's not. He's had 3 years to listen to all you complain about what the story should have been like. So he's made changes. He's had,
right.
There should be no editing flaws in this movie whatsoever.
No.
Everything should be super precise. It shouldn't feel like it's lagging. It should be cut. I mean, it should be sharp. I don't know why it's 4 hours long, because it should be trimmed. There should be no fat on this thing.
Mm-mm. Yeah, agreed.
But people are acting like, it's like, this is what we would have gotten. No, it's not what you would have gotten. Because he's had 3 or 4 years to work on it. It's not. That being said,
you
need to get going.
Real quick, because my brain suggested a thing. When you were talking about Liefeld, and we'll put a bunch of little lines, and I thought, you know what? There's no way to go back. Well, there might be. There might be a paper trail, Jerry, that their black ink expenses went up.
Funny.
Because of all those little things that he would put in.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I don't know what those were. Pockmarks. Everybody in his universe had a problem with acne.
Was windburned.
Right.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So, I bet you there's a number out there.
Yeah, so we'll be talking about that next week. Otherwise, we need to shut this down. This will actually be a relatively short one here, Bing.
Didn't seem like it.
Yeah. Well, we were talking beforehand. But no, once again, it's great talking to you. It was good to have a break from the workload.
Yeah.
And we will talk again next week. So thanks for hanging out, folks. Those of you who've stayed around and watched and listened and all that, just listening to us ramble. We will be back next Saturday. We're not going to do like a live view thing or anything like that. Yeah. For Winter Soldier yet. We'll watch it a few times. We'll get it under the
Winter Soldier.
A few episodes under our belt, and then maybe at some point we'll do that together. But right now we're just going to talk about the episodes on Saturday afterwards, and we'll have a bunch next week. We have Winter Soldier, we have Falcon and Winter Soldier, and we have the Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut.
The Snyder Cut.
The Schneider. The Schneider. All right.
Otherwise, thanks for hanging out, folks, and we will see you again soon.
See ya.